Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Rewind with Ro. I'm your host, Ro Carter, and my amazing co-host,
Rob Smith.
in the house, looking like he just fought in civil rights. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I just decided to try a new look. You know, my barber was like, grow a mustache. And I was like, why not? And then he was like, get a part on the side of your head because somebody messed up your lining. And I was like, why not? So here we are.
All right. All right. My man's been back and forth across the country. So he's getting his rhythm back, getting his flow.
Trying.
How's your week been besides running around? Oh, didn't you do something with Rihanna?
Oh, that was for work. So Hollywood Unlocked, I love Hollywood Unlocked. We had a donor dinner for a nonprofit. So yeah, that wasn't me. That was work.
Okay. All right. Did you get to meet Riri?
Oh, well, I've met her before through work. So, we do a lot of work in the entertainment space at Hollywood Unlocked. So it's great.
What I love about Rob is he's so modest. He's like, I've met her before. It's fine.
No, she's amazing.
All right. Okay. All right. Anything else big?
No, just living life.
Okay. All right. Cool.
What about you? How's Miami treating you?
Miami's been, it's been. I almost got into a little fisticuff the other night, and then someone tried to touch my dog.
Oh God! What is up with you people who don't like people petting your dogs?
No. So here's the thing. I'll be short and sweet with this. You can touch the dog if the dog is facing you and comes up to you and smells you. I think that should be across the board. If my dog is not looking at you and you go up behind the dog and start rubbing my dog,
that's a little weird.
Right? And I'm just like, yo, what's going on? So we get into a little argument. I'm like, bro, it was a brother, he has like pineapples with it in his hand. He's carrying them, walking up. Yeah, he had a actual pineapple, and then they, across the street from where I live, they cut out the pineapple and the chunks, they put them back in. So I was like, okay. So he's walking down the street. I'm like, he's walking on our side, and my dog is smelling the hydrant. I'm like, what's going on here? And I was like, oh, and then he just touches the back of my dog. I'm like, yo, bro, why are you touching my dog? He's like, well, you got a problem? Can't touch your dog? I'm like, yeah, you can't touch my dog. Like, you can't just walk up with my dog and just start stroking my dog. He's like, bro, I've had 50 dogs before. I can touch a dog if I want to touch a dog. I'm like, then I started thinking about it. It was like the comparison of like, I've had other dogs. That's like me saying, for dog people, these are like our children.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And so for you to touch our kid, it's like saying I was in a relationship with someone who had kids, or I had kids before. I know how to touch a kid. I can touch a kid. Like, what? No, there's no right answer to that. No, just don't touch my dog. I was like, yo, if you ask me, I have no problem with that. But you didn't even ask me. Just come over and start rubbing my dog. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Then
that's quite strange.
Yes. And then I didn't think about it because I was in some flip-flops. And if we did have to go down, like, I was definitely going to get my ass kicked.
You're going to be flipping and flopping around.
Yeah. And then I was like, I thought about the Spanish people. I was like, yo, I'm going to get my chancleta, and I'm going to start blasting this dude upside his head with my flip-flop. But I was just like, and in Miami and Florida, conceal and carry, you got to just be careful. So many reasons why I shouldn't have gotten in that situation. But I'm glad it just, but I said, hey, man, don't let the flip-flop fool you, player. And he was like, what you want? I was like, listen, I'm right here.
Oh, my God.
I was talking.
A lot.
No alcohol in me either. I was like, come on, man. I was like, chill. It's like, just, anyway. So I digress. Needless to say, stupid move, but I won't let it happen again.
Yikes.
All right. So let's get into the show. We have 2 movies tonight for you. One is on Netflix. One is in the movie theaters. One of the movies tonight is The American Society of Magical Negroes. And then the other one is Shirley. About Shirley Chisholm, first Black woman to get into Congress. So I'm going to let Rob make a choice here on what he wants to start with. And then we'll finish with the other one.
Why don't we start with the American Society of...
Let's get this one out of the way. All right, here we go. The American Society of Magical Negroes. Well, this, ladies and gentlemen, starts with a young man played by Justin Smith, gets recruited by David Alan Grier's character into a society of magical Negroes who dedicate their lives to making white people's lives easier. Now, when I first saw this movie, I went in here so excited. When I saw a little preview, I was like, oh, this is gonna be our Black Harry Potter. I was like, this is gonna be it. I was so excited. I was like, magic and doing this stuff. And then I was like, what the? I go into this movie and okay, I'm like, okay, I get an idea. So David Alan Grier's character, he is like an old head in the magical society of Negroes, and he recruits. And so he's out working. He's working behind a bar at this event that Justice Smith's character, he is an artist, and he does this yarn thing that just doesn't work at all. But he doesn't have a backbone, and so because of what the magical Negroes do, he's perfect for the job. So David Alan Grier's character says, come with me, son. I'm going to show you a special place. And then the movie unfolds. Now, I guess we'll go into it. I'm not going to give any things away, but I will say this. The movie becomes 3 other movies, and then it doesn't do justice to what I thought the movie was going to be. In terms of, I was praying that we would really learn some things, and it just turned into either a rom-com or I thought there was going to be satire. There wasn't. It was like all over the place, and it was very disappointing. I've never started off a movie like this before to say this, but it was very disappointing going in there. There was so much potential for this movie to be something that would change the world, but instead, I think this movie will go on deaf ears because I don't even know who would see this movie that you want to get your point across to, right? Because it just goes so far left and so far right at sometimes you're like, the whole point is missed. So anyway, with me started with that, what did you think of the American Society for Magical Negroes, and anything you want to add there?
Well, I, similar to you, walked into the movie theater not exactly knowing what it was about, and I didn't watch any trailers because I wanted to just be surprised. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, cool! This is interesting. It's going to be something magical." And it was not. And I think it was supposed to be a satire, but it didn't come off that way because of the way that the relationship panned out with him and the white girl. I don't know. It was just very strange. It was very strange. And like you said, I was like, okay, once we got into this idea of this organization of Black people who are there to make white people's lives easier. And I was like, okay, so it's making light of our experience as a culture in America. Okay, let's see where this goes. But it didn't go anywhere. So much like you, I just was very confused by the time the movie was over and felt like I could have used that 2 hours to take a nap.
Ooh, damn. Okay.
I hate to be that brutal, but I just was like very confused.
And so, and let's be honest here. So the word magical Negroes was a phrase coined by Spike Lee, basically saying that a Black character on the screen needs a story, basically helps the white characters for themselves. So you're supportive, and so we don't really care about the Black character at all. What's their outcome? What's the end all be all of them? Doesn't matter. They're to carry and support the white character on the screen. And you've seen that in The Green Mile of Michael Clark Duncan. You saw that with Will Smith with Bagger Vance, The Legend of Bagger Vance. So this has been done over and over a million times. And so I was hoping they were going to do a deep dive into what that means. And then when there was a deep dive, it was so late and the messaging was all over the place because there's a lot of there's colorism in the movie as well. And what I mean by colorism is like Justice Smith's character is a mixed character, right? And so the American Society of Magical Negroes, yes, it can be mixed up, but if your whole back screen is all darker complexion people, right? And this is the image you have, and this person is going to represent, but also as we learn about the powers of the Magical Negroes, is that one person can mess up for everybody. So basically, if you decide to go the other way, your goal, everybody gets a job or assigned a person. And so your person, you have to help them achieve their goal. And if you go the other way against that, then the Magical Negroes lose their power. And so when I first went in there, I was like, okay, let's see how this plays out. And then they gave him a task, and it's a task where you're trying to tell me this guy who's brand new can risk all of us losing their powers, right? You gonna let this biracial character just go out there and kind of do whatever he wants. I'm like, what? Where's the training? Like they go through a conference and that's it, but like, where's the training before I let this guy basically be the demise of everything we've been working on for so long, right? I really think there was such a missed opportunity, especially with the cast they had. They had some great actresses and actors on the screen, and I was like, "What are we doing?" David Allen Greer is a legend, and I wanted him to be more in the movie, but later becomes again a rom-com, which doesn't make. God bless the young lady for having to stand next to. Again, I don't have anything against Justice Smith, but his characters sometimes are just so like weak. And I guess that was the point of the character, that he can be, and they become stronger later. But it was such a like, bro, come on. And I don't know if that's because that's a new generation of these kids nowadays, right? I'm kind of lost because I'm from an older generation. So I'm just like, is everybody so sensitive? Like, this is who they relate to. And then when I also, the director is Kobe Levy. And so he is a mixed guy as well. And so I don't know if that was supposed to be him representing the Justice Smith character was actually him in the movie. And so we're seeing it from him. I also felt like maybe we ran out of money, right? And we were just like, hey, we have a great no, seriously. It's as if we went in there. I literally thought that this movie was gonna be our black Harry Potter. And so that ain't cheap. You need a big budget for that. So I saw it going that way because we see all these old videos and how the Negroes have been successful in helping out society over the years, and because of this, we've actually saved more Black people in society because we've been more helpful than a threat. And I was like, oh, that's deep messaging. Okay, cool. And then they decided, like, you know what? Forget this. Let's just go off the rails and let's move into a love story, because now Justice Smith has to decide whether or not he is going to do the job that his task is, or because the white guy he's helping out, they fall in love with the same girl. And so he has to decide, does he want to either block him and get the girl, or do his job? And I was just like, what are we doing? So I don't know. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, like you're right. Like you have Nicole Byer in there. Like you have all of these great.
Nicole, let me tell you something. I love Nicole Byer. She's one of my favorite actors. She's done some crazy shows and made them all successful. Mm-hmm. Grand Crew was one of my favorite shows. Didn't do a third season, 2 seasons. The other show she did on Netflix where they cook it, bake it, or whatever, nailed it. It's hilarious. You've ever seen Nailed It? And so I was like, and they didn't even use it's as if they gave her a script and said, just go. Right? No script, just go and see what happens. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and I want to, I hate giving bad thoughts on these films, but this is one. I don't know what more I can say. I just really didn't understand fully where this movie was going, and that it just went all over the place, and it was a little bit disjointed for me. And I wanted it to have some kind of deep message in the end, and there was just nothing. Like I don't.
So again, I think there was a message at the end, right? It's where he's at the conference, and so they work for a tech company, and at this tech company, I guess when they did the tech, this new thing that they released, it shows obviously that people of color can't activate the app, and I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. Or they're doing, just something in general, like, oh, we're not actually included in something. So I was like, oh, here we go. And so because of that, now they have to give a big speech. And so Justice Smith's character is helping out the guy to prepare him for the speech. And so in that, he gets on stage and he confronts him. Now he gets the balls to be like, hey, I'm going to confront this person and tell them that you cannot do this. You need to hear me. And in hearing me, it goes on deaf ears, right? Because I don't want to play colorism into it, but it's hard when the person who's supposed to represent all of the Negroes is not even a full Negro. I don't know if that makes I'm not saying you can't feel that pain, but I didn't feel his pain throughout the whole entire time. It was more like, hey, you're not hearing me. He didn't really go through any plight, right? It wasn't like,
But I think for me, it had less to do with him being biracial and more to do with, I don't think they really pursue that storyline, right?
I'm just saying, even develop enough so that his character I could even hear what he was saying, because I didn't feel he talked for all of us, right? That speech was great, and I felt it was for all Black people, but who is going to hear that, right?
That didn't, again, like him being biracial didn't bother me at all from that perspective. But what was weird to me was you have this organization of magical Negroes whose job it is to sing, dance, and tap to make white people happy and to never be aggressive. And for me, I'm thinking this is gonna go to a place where we're like, that ain't what we should be doing. We should be like living to make, to have the best lives for ourselves, because we are, not a monolith, and we're wonderful. We're creators. We're inventors. This country was built on the backs of brown people. I thought it was going to go there, but in the end, it was like, I want to fall in love with this white girl, so I'm going to break the rules and do that. It was just, I just was very confused.
Yeah, and then falling in love actually risked everything, right? It was like, that's the greater good, because I'm in love. I need to tell you how I feel, because if I was in love, I wouldn't have stuck up for myself, and I wouldn't have expressed how you don't hear us, right? No, seriously, the only reason he spoke up is because he was in love with this girl. But if he wasn't in love with this girl,
to do what she wanted to do,
he would have never said like how we are not counted, right? We are not heard. We're not listened to. That, like, ugh. So
I was very confused. So for me, it was maybe I need to go back and rewatch it and try and understand what's going on.
Save your money. There's no way you could rewatch it and find, again. There's the only silver lining I would say is the cast, in terms of the supporting cast. I would say what they did there. But again, I think what you could do, if you got a really good director and you could save this film, you could go back. Listen, everything they did inside the halls of the place and everything, and then just make a whole nother movie. Seriously,
they're teasing that they're going to make one about, there's a little teaser at the end.
So. Oh yeah, at the end there's a teaser that if you weren't upset when you left the movie, you were like, really, you're really going to do this? This is how you? So then it really wasn't even about the American Society for Magical Negroes. It was like, and I want to give that in. So stay a little bit to the end of the movie. It's literally like a minute or two in afterward, and they reveal something else, and I'm like, why the hell would you? So it was never about us. Right. Yeah. And so that's the biggest thing. You know what? I think that's why most people, when you look at the reviews, are upset, is because you use the title. It's kind of like Blackish, right? When Blackish came out, I went in there and I was like, ooh, that's a risque name. But it had like 6, 7, 8 seasons. And it was great.
But the name made
sense. Culture. This didn't even deal with the culture for 2 seconds. That was it.
That's why I was very confused by this film. Don't
use that branding. And then don't go with deep dive because you're afraid to offend people. I guess you're afraid to offend people at the end of the day. I don't know what the fear was, right? Because they were slowly going in there, and they're like, no, let's deviate from the plan. Yeah. Like, did somebody get uncomfortable in a meeting? Like what happened? Seriously, what happened here that we were like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna have to take. And again, it started off. I was like, okay, I see where we're going. I like, okay, I can understand that. And then let's go and let's knock it out of the park. And they just went like, you know what? Like, we're not even going to talk about it anymore.
They just like, forget about it.
It's so many things that is just so painful. The white tone deafness, black flight. It's just, I'm so disappointed when I went. I was so disappointed. Like, I was so disappointed. I've only walked out of one movie in my lifetime. Sorry, two.
Walk out.
I've only walked out of a movie one time in my life, and it was Dude, Where's My Car? Yeah. One of my boy, and we looked. It was like a long time. I was like, we looked at each other like, this is awful, and I literally walked out of the movie. I've never in my life walked out of a movie before in my life, and that was the first one. Because normally, you look and like, yeah, this is gonna be good, it's gonna be bad, and kind of go from there. I've never
walk out of the movie. It wasn't walkout worthy. It was just disjointed.
No. And again, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't because they set you up to like you're waiting. Like they can't go this far with this. They can't just deviate from the plan. And so you're stuck to your seat. Like, I've already invested coming. I was like,
they circle back to this concept at all.
Exactly. And then also we don't really even develop the characters. We don't know really anything about him. We don't know, like, we don't even know really the powers that the Black Negroes have, right? We learn, like, I can go here and teleport there, but okay, what does that mean? Like, how does that help you? Like, it's just so limited. At least, listen, Men in Black, right? They tell he gets the job, right? These are what you can do. This is what you can't do. When people see this, that's it. Just it takes 2 minutes. Just explain what we can do or what you can't do. And then at the end, so I'll give this one away. There's a part in the movie where they're playing with Legos, and he decides to take her to the Empire State Building at the end to tell her that he loves her. So he can teleport now. We find out he can teleport. He teleports her to the top of the Empire State Building, and then they grab him back because he's messed everything up. And now you're stuck. She's stuck there in New York, and then they go back. No girl in her right mind is going to date you, let alone talk to you after you just put her in another state and then just you vanished. Right? They even try to put that together, like, oh yeah, oh my God, yeah, I'm on a plane. Now I'm sorry, I'm landing. Oh my God, I need to see you. What happened? And like she's all fine with that. Like, get the hell out of here. What are we doing?
That part confused me a little bit too, because I was like, she ain't mad.
Not one bit. Not one bit. Anyway,
I guess we know how we feel about this film.
Yeah, I digress. It just. Please, somebody. We honestly. So, with all of the energy that's been put out there, whether it be negative, they may no positive, but with all the negative energy, it goes to show you that we want a magical world for Black people, and I really challenge a Black director. If we need to get 2 Black directors together, and we need to make that world, because I guarantee you, if we can make Wakanda, we can make. I'm serious. It might take the brother to make a Black magic. Seriously, at the end of the day, because that's it.
I think that film is coming though. It's based on a book. I'm trying to remember the name of the book. If it comes to me, I'll tell you what it is.
All right. All right, let's knock that out. Rob, what you got for me? Happy Easter, Ether. What are you looking for?
Yes, and I still recommend you go see it. Go see it. I know you said you've heard good things and you want to see it, but don't let our bad review deter you from going to support the film. But make your own choice.
You go on a date and have them pay for it. That's the only way. Only way I can justify it at the end of the day. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or you get the movie pass and then you be like, oh, you know what? That's one of my freebies. That's
exactly.
Hey, you gonna rate it?
Do we have to? Oh God.
All right, moving right along. Next up, Shirley. So this is on Netflix. Came out last week on Friday about Shirley Chisholm, as I said earlier in the show, the first Black ever Congresswoman in 1972. It follows her getting into office and then later her run for President of the United States. Woo! Directors John Ridley Scott, producers Regina King and Rena King, her sister. And her sister is actually a fun fact. It's actually in the movie. I watched the interview with Regina King, and she was like, "Listen, I got my sister to actually play my real sister to play my sister in the movie, and it was a weird audition because it was like, John came up to her separately, like, hey, Raina, I think you'd be great to play your sister's sister," and she's like, "Well, I got to run that through Regina," and Regina was like, "She ain't acted since we were kids," so it was a bit. There was going to be some beef in the house, so I kind of love that story. And she actually killed it. I mean, she had a couple of lines, but to put your, because again, she can make or break a scene, and that kind of throws you off. So I love that there was still love, and she killed it. Anyway, I love the cast of this. I was really excited to see this movie because Regina King, she did A Night in Miami, and I love A Night in Miami. So the fact that she wasn't directed, but she's a producer on this, I was like, oh, I know where her head is at now. She's really on some next level stuff. So let's see this. And Shirley Chisholm, I didn't really know that much about her. And I kind of love that this is the autobiography about her, but also it's also a period piece because I think this is something for the school books later on down the line. Like you're going to use this in school. Maybe not. If you're in Florida, probably won't be able to use it all. But,
probably won't.
But in certain places, you can use this as a movie where kids will learn about that. And I was like, I never learned about Shirley. And I'm like, why didn't I learn about Shirley in the 90s, 80s? Like that's something, you know, I was like, what is missing there, that conversation?
Well, we know is the whole the whole education around African American presence in America was just slavery, and then moved on, and then Martin Luther King, and that was it. That was the extent of it.
You gotta remember Rosa Parks. You never forget. They always said Rosa Parks.
Yeah, that was it. So that was
it.
That was the extent of our education on like the Black American experience. So of course you would not have heard about Shirley Chisholm.
And it reminds me, it was like, I mean, what is the fear that and I guess the overall fear is that, you know, that you guys can do things, and especially Black women, young Black women can do things. So it's, and so going into this movie, there's a lot of things I've learned about Shirley. I watched some old videos, and so I don't want to really critique Regina too much. It's tough though when you have a character, because one, the complexion is it's night and day. Not saying it's here or there, but just she was so skinny and tall, like really frail. So Regina King is none of those things, but she still nails the character, right? And you still felt her energy. You learn about the assassination attempts on her life. Wow, I didn't know anything about that. How we kind of been doing this since the beginning of time in terms of, well, I guess until we got into politics, not supporting our own, right? You really learn that. You learn the politics that really go on. Like her going into office and be like, hey, I'm going to make some change. You're like, no. You're in charge of agriculture. And she's like, I'm from Brooklyn. There's no, and that's a great moment, right? Because I really learned, like, wow, like, you know, it reminded me of AOC being from New York. And she's like, I'm going to come here and make a change. They're like, not just yet, young lady. This is what you have to do. You have to earn your stripes. And so I thought about that. I was like, you know, we already know the story. And I love when we do biographies about certain people in history. And we already know the outcome. So it's like, how are you going to tell us this story, right? We did Bob Marley, right? I was like, we already know what happens with him. But what's going to make it different? And so the only knock I would have in this movie is that I wish we got to see how she became the person she was. They only give us like 2 or 3 clips of that, like her talking to people in her neighborhood. But that was a big part of how she got into office, right? And I think that was missing, because we're already going to know the outcome of her not getting the presidency. But I was like, what made Shirley who she was, right? And I wish they would have dug into that a little bit more. But otherwise, I really thought it was a good film. What do you think, and what do you want to add?
Yeah, I love that they transformed her physically, vocally. I thought she did a great job. The one thing I think that you can get away with when you do like a biopic of someone who's not, you know, in the normal conversation of our lives day to day, or like somebody, they're not like a global pop star that, you know, that is talked about consistently or all the time. So she has a little bit of leeway of not like physically being exactly looking exactly like Shirley Chisholm, because, you know, it's like if you're not going to have Viola Davis play Beyonce in a biopic, right? Because it just wouldn't make any sense. But I think in this situation, it was fine. Like there was no issue with me with her appearance. But I love how they transformed her, you know, physically and vocally. She had to take on a slight accent because Shirley Chisholm was from Barbados, right? So I think I thought she did a stellar job. Of course, she's a phenomenal actress. So at the end of the day, can't go wrong. I've been rocking with her since the beginning. And then also, I think we talked about this with another film last week or the week before, where it's really hard because you do, like you said, you do want to like get more of the history of the person. You want to see a little bit more about why they developed or became the person they ultimately were. But we didn't really get too much of that. But I think they gave us enough. They gave us like moments with like her relationship, her marriage. Like we saw the struggles that she was dealing with her husband. So we saw bits and pieces of the personal life and bits and pieces of the struggles that kind of pushed her to become who she was. So I think they helped develop the story in that way. Overall, I thought I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And like it was a really, really good cast as well.
Yeah, great cast. What I'll add on piggyback to what you're saying is her relationship with her husband. Shout out to the actor, the brother there. I want to get his name out. Michael Cherry. He played her Conrad Chisholm, and he was amazing. And he brought up a good point, right? It's like, think about it's always the woman having to take the back seat, you know, to the relationship, but now you're the man. And especially in the 70s, a black man, you're like, your woman's doing all this stuff, and you have to kind of figure out a place for yourself. And then there's a moment in the film where someone tries to attempt to kill her, and he was there, but wasn't there to like grab and protect her. And he was like, well, you want me to be in the shadows, but like you want, and she was like, well, and that was no, seriously, it was the interesting point that I was like, ooh, you always want me to take a step back, but it was like, I got shot at, you know. Oh no, he got stabbed. He would, right? She was gonna get stabbed.
Yeah,
so I was like, what was going on? I was like, that's a deep combo. What did you think about that moment? And what would you do in that situation? As a partner, like what is, who's right, who's wrong, or it just depends on the situation?
I don't know. It's the way they depicted it. It's hard to say, because they did make it seem like he was pulling back a little bit because of the.
You're saying he wanted her to die.
I'm not saying he wanted her to die, but I feel like he was kind of like taking a step back because she was moving so quickly and, you know, progressing so quickly in her career, and like now everybody knew this
your
black
partner is attempted to get murdered.
No,
come on, what we're doing?
I'm saying I think he was pulling back a little bit, because I don't think he wasn't pulling back in the sense of I want somebody to kill you, but I think he was getting frustrated in the process of her running for president. And I think he was starting to like pull back a little bit. And I don't think he was probably as close and paying as much attention in that moment. Not that he wanted it to happen. It's just he was kind of like taking a back seat to everything. So
and now let me twist the question now. Now as you the partner who someone tried to stab you and your significant other wasn't there to protect you.
Because he's her security, which was also weird. Like, I don't understand why he was her security. Like, they have better security. But I don't know.
Budget plan. We on a budget.
Fair. I think it was fair, of course, for her to be upset, but I think she also understood his perspective as well. So it was interesting. It was an interesting dynamic that they added, that, you know, the personal side of that experience to the film. And I think they did do a good job of showing how she was this powerhouse, and if there was something that she wanted, she spoke up for herself and she fought for it. And she kind of had that same effect on younger people who were coming up around her, who ended up making their way into the world of politics through her influence.
Yeah. So Brian Stokes Mitchell, he plays Stanley Townsend. He was basically the person who was getting her team together and running everything. And they fought, and just to piggyback again on what you said, they would go back and forth. It's like, this is how you say things. She's like, no. I am me, and I'm going to be that. And I was like, ugh. And that was kind of frustrating, too, to like understand when someone's telling you, listen, I've been doing this for a long time. This is the way to get in. Trust me. She's like, no. I'm either going to have it my way or you got to go. And you kind of see them butt heads later down the line. And she lets him go and says, hey, you know, I don't need this. I don't need to do this. But then I don't even know, which they didn't show in the movie, maybe that led to her being set up later, right, with the delegates. And then so a lot of things changed since then, voting rights. She was actually getting a whole new group of 18. Everybody turned legal age of 18 to vote at that time. So the 72, listen, that was a lot of stuff was big in politics. So the potential of where you can move up and down was huge. And so I didn't really understand that until I saw the movie. I was like, wow, I didn't really know all that stuff was going on. So it's a great movie. We can actually learn some things. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, I knew this. No. There's a lot of things I was like, oh, wow, I had no clue that went on. And we sometimes forget history, especially nowadays. Like, oh, I forgot that happened 4 years ago. COVID? No, that never happened. You know?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. Like, I'm trying to remember this. I wasn't even born yet, or how that affected that. I don't even remember Shirley later down in my life, right? No one talking about her at all. Mm-hmm. One other thing I'll add is another great moment. We've done this movie, but now she meets one of the Black Panthers, and so the head of the Black Panthers movement, and that was big because she couldn't get any Black support, and so now she's like, "Listen, I'm going to meet with the Black Panthers," which was like, "Whoa, we don't meet with them." Because they were in their own category at that time. So that was an interesting moment, too, to have the sit down and her kind of challenge him and be like, listen, this is what our message is. She's like, I'm on the same message with you. and understanding what that meant at that time. I mean, I always reflect in movies like this. Slave movies are one thing. Like, oh, I could. No one's gonna whip me. But like in the '70s, and I'm the end of the '70s, baby. But it's like to be a grown adult, a young black man in the '70s, and just like, would you be part of the Black Panther movement? Where would you be, right? Just trying to survive, trying to start a business, but then you get knocked upside your head, you get told what to like. It's just such a tough time. So it reminds me all the time to really be grateful of where I am right now.
Yeah.
And also be mindful though of all my dad, my uncles, black men that just had to deal with some crazy stuff back then. And
that's why when people ask that dumb question, if you could go back in time, I'm like, don't ask black people that question.
No, but we ain't ever going in time. We don't even want to go in the future.
But it was cool that they introduced her relationship with Barbara Lee. And how Barbara Lee was inspired to actually register to vote because of Shirley Chisholm telling her, like, you can be out here screaming and making noise, but you're not affecting any change if you haven't registered to vote. So, and now she's, a U.S. House of Representative member for California, which is kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, come full circle, right? That's really crazy.
I was like, that's so cool.
The impression that people put on you, and you're like, oh, to really make a change. I mean, the fact that she hasn't used that more, like, I don't know. Again, it's just so many things in politics, I guess, that just get lost out there. But on the cusp of this movie, I don't know why they're not using that as like, hey, let's galvanize people to vote and get out there. It's going to be scary, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be really scary. It's crazy right now. It's crazy. But, so overall, I think it was a beautiful, well-done film. A little bit slow at points because that's just what the nature of politics are. In terms, you can't make it too sweet. I want to give one more shout out, two more shout outs. Lance Reddick, this is his last film. And, I always love this man. Another brother that we've lost too soon. That was just, he really did his thing. Yeah. Also, Andre Holland, who plays Walter Fauntroy, he kind of sets her up. He plays the politics back and forth with her. But this man, I've always loved him as an actor. I actually got to meet him at a Yankee game one day. And so he was on the Nick, which is like one of the first black doctors. It was a really good movie. I think a good series. I think they had 2 seasons, but that was a really good show. And he was one of the first black doctors. So he's been doing it. He actually had one of the parts that Rob has right now for that scene. So there you go.
Terrence Howard, of course, was
there. You go. And Chad, that's what I'm gonna do. Terrence Howard. I love how he doesn't command the screen, the screen, but doesn't steal the scene. But he's there. Yeah. Right. And that's hard when Terrence has been here. Terrence has been all over the place. No, sir. I mean, I'm just serious. As an actor in his career, he's been all over the place. Like he's been high. Like Empire was hot. His movies have been high, and he just finds that kind of sweet place where you're just like, oh, Terrence is there. Nice, come on in, brother. Just. So I mean, I think ideally, if you want to be an actor, that's your sweet spot. Just don't mess up the chance to play Iron all the Iron Mans and mess up that money. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. He messed up, man. He messed up that Don Cheadle money.
I don't know that story, so you'll just have to fill me in later.
People forget that he was originally in the first Iron Man.
Oh.
Yeah. See, even you forgot. And then they went back and said, hey, Iron Man 2, I want a little more money. And then Don Cheadle was like, I'll do it. And then Don Cheadle been getting a check since? Yes, exactly.
Are you sure that's what happened?
Yep, that's what happened. He went too high. He went too high on the price. And he could have just sat and let it just come to him. But he was like, yeah, I want more. Because, I mean, they made so much. Iron Man, the first one, made so much money.
Well, he probably, was asking for what he deserved.
No, of course. And they were like, oh, but we can get Don Cheadle for how much? Mm-hmm. And Don Cheadle's still making moves. I'm just saying. Sad. Because if you watch the first one again, I'm sorry, we're going off the rails just a little bit. But if you watch the first Iron Man again, like, he would have been great. Because he's a more suave character. Whereas, like, Don Cheadle, I love him. He's a great actor. But he doesn't have that suave, cool, like that Terrence Howard has. And so that to add with Tony, oh, that would have been mean, again. This opportunity. Sometimes you got to know when they're like, hey, you know what? Wait till the third film, then I'll start asking for some money. Anyway.
Yeah, but I did remember the magic movie that I was going to tell you about.
Oh, what was the magic movie, Rob?
So it's based on a book called The Children of Blood and Bone. And it's been acquired to be made into a film. Nice. And it's going to be directed by Gina Prince Bythewood.
Nice. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good Rob having a moment there. So proud of
you. Because I read the book and I loved it. And I was like, I want to be in his movie. So I was super excited when they announced that it was going to be turned into a film. So,
I mean, hello.
It's going. I think they did say they were comparing it. They were saying it's going to be like the Black
auditions.
Harry. Well, I'm saying I think they were saying this is going to be like the Black Harry Potter. And I believe the offer, it was like all the studios were bidding on the rights to it, and it was like one of the highest purchases for a book to a film series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I have to go back and look at more details. I think we wrote about it on blackfilm.com.
Sorry. So one more thing to go into Shirley to kind of bring it all to a head. At the time when she was running, she was also going up against George Wallace, who was a former governor, politician, and later on judge in Alabama. He was also a Democrat, but he was a real believer in segregation. So they kind of bumped heads back then, and he gets shot, basically trying to get assassinated, but he gets shot and winds up in the hospital. And she goes to visit him, which is a huge part of the film, where they're like, you're going to go visit this guy, and what it would do to the Black vote, right, if she went to actually visit him. And she didn't care about that. She's like, no, at the end of the day, I know he's a good person, and I'd rather meet the person and kind of go from there. And they have a moment. Who knows how real that was to be, at that time. But it really I guess when anybody gets shot, right, they come to a realization that come to Jesus moment. We're like, you know what? Maybe this is bigger. It's a lot bigger than it is, right? You can be gone in 1 second. And I think some people need to have that come to Jesus moment nowadays. More people need to have that. You know what I love? I was reading because the news is crazy right now. We're all over the place with shout out to the not shout out, but thoughts and prayers to the people that were on the bridge in Baltimore that fell. And there's an NYPD officer that got killed by doing a traffic stop, and he was killed by someone who's been out 11 times out of jail. So they get better than that. So my point is, you never know what's going to happen, and thinking about that. So just want to give thoughts and prayers to everybody out there, saying a positive note and being mindful where you're at. That's it. Yeah. Anything you want to add to the film, buddy?
I don't. I thoroughly enjoyed Shirley. So yeah, everyone go log into your Netflix account and watch it.
Okay.
My light fell. Oh well, moving on.
Yeah, Shirley's in the house. Rob has a cat. Because you ain't sneaked out? No, I just fell on his own. Yeah, all right, Rob. Okay. Little magic time.
Little magic for you.
Okay, cool. So let's rate this one, Rob. What you got?
10 out of 10. No, I'm gonna give it a solid 8. It was good.
8?
Solid
yeah, 8. I'll join you with an 8, 7.5, 8. Again, I wish we got more of a backstory of how she got into what she did on the streets, because I think that's what sells the character of who she is and what makes her who she is, right? We just find out you're reading more about what she did later on the line after the movie's up. It's like I don't want to hear about something she's gonna lose. I want to know like how she got in there, and then kind of go, yeah, right. It would have been better if like, hey, the run, and then we already know what's gonna happen. Also learning that I don't know. It seems like we always get in each other's way at this point in our lives. When Black folks are getting, no, I'm saying are reaching that pinnacle, we're always there to take us down at the same time, right? And I'm just by this film, when I saw that, I was like, I was like to support each other, like the belief of what you can do, like even our own people. I was like, you sure you can do this? It's just like there's so much doubt in what people can do, and imagine we just believed in the person that's bringing the message, and I think that's the biggest thing I took from that. Like we constantly get in our own way. You know, we want to break people down before we build them up, and then we build up some random dude that's crazy. You know, it like have it make sense. Like we go against our own people. We don't like give love. If we gave the same love we gave to random people that to our own, I mean, change tomorrow. Everything would change tomorrow. So
you know, I think that was, but part of her message too was she wasn't just a person who was running for Black people, and she wasn't just a person who was running for women. She was a person who was running for people, because she wanted, you know, she wanted politics as usual to end, and she wanted to really give power back to people. She just happened to be a Black woman, and you know, she was fighting to have the highest seat in the country. You know, so that was, I think that was clearly her message. Like, it was about the people, and not her focus wasn't just on race or gender. It was for everyone.
And that's why it was hard for them to believe in the message. Like, no. We can't have everybody. We can't take care of everybody. No. Hold on. Go this way or go this way. You can't have everybody interested. And that just goes to show you, I mean, women to support each other no matter what. Black people support people just support somebody who actually cares about you, because you don't have them out there. And when you get to see them, it's like we take them for granted, right? Like it's so funny now when you see these films or when Martin Luther King Day happens and people are like, oh man, I love me some Martin Luther King. And you have some politicians like, oh man, Martin Luther King was great. I was like, it wasn't. You have to remind these kids, like, it wasn't like that when Martin Luther King was around. They hated that mofo. They hated him.
And that's why I do love that we keep making these films about actual people, so that we can cement these stories like in the foundation of our culture now, because they are trying to strip it away from, you know, being a part of the.
And hide it when it's a movie now. You're like, I got it. IMDb.
Get rid of all the books. Exactly. So now they're like, it's a movie. It's a real person.
It has to be real. It was a movie. It has to be.
Disappear this story. It's here forever now. So I do love that we continue to, you know, tell these stories that are important to us, so that they stay around forever, even though people are trying to wipe it away. You probably won't learn about it in Florida, like you said.
There you go. Yeah, like I said, take a friend or watch with friends, loved ones, family. The kids can learn something too. It's not like a graphic movie you have to worry about anything like that. So, I think it's also a great conversational piece about, you know, women in politics, right? Like, where's that next phase? You know, will we ever have a woman president? Woo! You know, I thought it was going to happen, but it didn't. So it just goes to show you, like, where are we at, gradually making steps. And can we make that next step? You know, we'll see. We'll see how the world changes. It's a crazy time right now. But anyway, that is all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Another great. Listen, they're not always going to be home runs, but we try to get things out there that are popular at the time. We talk about them. And that's all we can do. So again, you got an 8 out of Rob, you know, not a 10. We got to get Rob back on the 10. It's been a minute.
Well, I mean, if you pick that other movie you wanted to talk about, you're definitely not going to get a 10.
No. Too late. Too late. Listen, it's popular, and we pick it and then go from there. So
we can talk about that one next week if you want to.
No, we're gonna pick something new. All right. Anyway, that's our time. Thank you for sticking in. Enjoy your Friday evening. Drink responsibly. Be safe. Love the one you're with.